Only God knows I love you. I don't even know you. Only God knows. I know you. And I love you. First. What it is, focus your homeboy First, back with another edition of Everybody Got a Story. This is the program where we like to highlight the extraordinary stories of extraordinary people who ordinarily don't have an opportunity to tell their full stories in great detail. I got an amazing one for y'all today. I got a brother who fascinates me. You understand me? I've never met anybody like this brother. Okay, this brother is a wizard when it comes to that stock market. You understand me? A wizard. You know what I'm talking about? Like we hear about people like him, but if you're from the environment where I'm from, you don't meet anybody like him. You understand? So I wanted to make sure that I present his story to you. I want to learn more about him myself. Okay, and while I'm learning, you'll get the opportunity to do so as well. But without further ado, I present to you Norris Powell. What's up, brother?
Hey, good day. How you doing, my brother? How you doing?
Man, trying to get to it, man. I appreciate you for coming on. This is a long time coming. You know, we've been talking about this for a minute, you know, and I was taking care of my mother, you know, which I know you can really understand, you know, so we'll get into all that. But I appreciate you for coming on, and this going to be great. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. Glad to be here, man. Glad to be a part of your story. So, without further ado, let's see what we can climb into today.
All right, let's get to it then, man. With that said, let everybody know where you're from and how would you describe your upbringing there?
Okay. Upbringing is pretty unique. Dad was in the military, which kind of is the base of where I'm from. I was born in Jackson, Mississippi. My mother and father are originally from Jackson, Mississippi, but my dad, he ventured off into the Marines at a young age, which allowed us the ability to migrate to different locations in America. We had the uh, ability to live in places such as Florida, California, Texas, Tennessee, several places based on wherever he was based. If anybody's a military brat, they can, understand or relate to that. But after that life, things kind of slowed down a little bit. And we resided in a small town called Rolling Fork, Mississippi, which I like to call my home. From that location, uh, I like to say it's probably the best kind of upbringing you may want for a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a grown up, you may not want to, reside there into the latter portion of your years, but as a child growing up, it taught you a lot about humble beginnings. Are you from Canton yourself? Where are you from originally?
Yeah, Canton.
You
Mm-hmm.
from Canton? Yeah,
Yes,
so
sir.
you kind of understand, what it means to have a community of people that basically knows everyone and everyone helps raise the community together.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of what I see that's lacking in the community today that I kind of missed from back in the day. You know, but coming up in Rolling Fork, like I said, humble beginnings. Mom basically at that point had separated from dad, and we were basically in a single parent home. From that single parent home out there in the small town of Rolling Fork, my mom basically taught us everything about being being a man, to be honest, from a woman's perspective. But that was the hard part about it because I had a little brother that needed raising too, and a lot of that responsibility kind of weighed on my back. So I
Mm-hmm.
was hit with the task of growing up a little bit earlier than I would have liked to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that challenge led to a lot of growing up early. You know, and everyone that was around me kind of looked up to me as the person to I guess you could say take care of the group, make sure everybody's good. And with building that, I guess you could say personality, it kind of, ventured off to me as a grown person. I kind of had responsibilities on my shoulders, or at least I felt the responsibility of making sure that everyone was okay. So
Mhm.
I guess you could say, as a child, where did I come up at? I would like to say that location was Rolling Fork, Mississippi, and it played a big part of who I have become today. Uh, and I wouldn't exchange that upbringing for nothing, to be quite frank. As a child, my mom took us back and forth to Jackson, Mississippi, which is the basis of our family. Like I said, that's where they were from.
Mhm.
And we spent weekends in Jackson all the time. I remember coming up to Jackson. As soon as we would get to Jackson, to my grandmother and grandfather's house, the TV would be on CSNBC, and at the bottom it'll have all the stock market numbers on it. And that's kind of where the journey started for me. Not knowing it, sometimes you're being fed things, and you know, it could be creating a foundation for you without you actually understanding and knowing what's going on,
Mhm.
right? So my grandfather, all the time we got there, he was writing numbers down on his in his little pad about the stock market, and he would kind of tell us a little bit about what he's doing. As a kid, I rather watch basketball or cartoons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm blessed for the seed that he sowed. You know what I'm saying? Like, because without those precious moments right there, without that inadvertent guidance that he provided, I don't think I would be where I am today. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of things where I come from aren't discussed in the household, not because anyone is gatekeeping, but simply because we are not blessed with the information to provide.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just blessed to have a grandfather that planted a seed in me enough to where I can take some of the information, just a little bit of the information I had, and allow it to blossom out into what has transpired into today. So a lot of what I have, you know, um, is very sentimental for me, because my mother, for one, who brought me to the position to be able to receive that information, and my grandfather, the one that was able to provide that information, are no longer with us. So not only was the information planted to me and gave to me, it's also a chip on my shoulder that I hold, and um, I guess I could say a responsibility I have to make sure that I carry that over in the best way possible.
Mhm.
So every foot forward that I move, it's in reflection to those two individuals, you know, and I owe it to them to make sure that I continue the legacy that them two instilled into me today.
So was your grandfather a trader by profession, or was it something he was just an investor? Like how did he get into that himself?
Yeah, so I couldn't tell you how he got into it, because, like, it's almost like you go to a basketball game, and you see the players. That's where you know them from,
Mhm.
right? You may not know the history of about this person went to Marquette or this person went to North Carolina, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know the background of it, but he was a security guard at MDOT, and I'm supposing that he started his venture, just adding money to his 401k. But back in the day, he used to take us to his financial advisor every now and then. And I remember
Mhm.
him telling me this story as a young child, and he did this like two or three times. But the last time he did it, it really struck a chord with me. Um, he would go out to the financial advisor and he would withdraw some money, and he would say this money is from the stock market, you know and what he would do is he would let you touch the money. So at that point you knew that the route that he was taking, this leads to real money, right? And it became a little bit intriguing to me, because not saying that we were the poorest family or the wealthiest family, but when he pulled that money out, it was the most money I had ever seen, in person, the most money I've ever held,
Right,
right?
right, right.
He later went on to buy my grandmother a Mercedes Benz with the funds that he pulled out of the stock market. And at this point in time, we was riding in a bucket. So uh, I kind of gained a spark an interest when I became a teenager, to the finance world, right? And that's really what led to me, in the collegiate years, into Hines, moving into financial, business finance, and to Jackson State at that point into business finance, because I knew I wanted to be in the finance world, without much guidance on, hey, you could do this to make money, hey, you could do this to make money. But I knew that at this location, this type of money was available. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the foundation of me becoming, like a finance person, kind of was rooted. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So
mm.
um, I like to say, the history of who I became or who I am becoming, because it's still flourishing and it's still surprising me to today. The length of the country that we're able to touch with the information that we have to provide. It came from that background. So man, all homage goes to the late Verlin Powell and Robert Logan in regards to the start of my legacy.
Man, this is why I love this show that I do. Okay. I love because we hear so many times that youngins in the streets see a dope boy pull out a wad of cash. And that's why they started trapping. Or right now, like before we started this, I was watching watching some stand-up comedy by Ali Sadiq.
Hmm.
And he said he started trapping because he saw some cat with this track suit on, his fresh track suit in the 1980s. You know what I'm talking
Right.
about?
Right.
But you just share with us an example of what I be telling people. Like if they just get that positive example that results in that same thing. It's the same water
It's the
cash.
same water cash.
Okay. But with one, you got to sleep with one eye open. There's penitentiary chances. There's jack boys you got to deal with. And the other is a brother like you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so glad. I'm just so glad that you shared that. You know, that's gonna help somebody. I'm telling you, your story gonna positively impact somebody, brother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the goal, man. And then becoming, latter. And I know we're missing, time points in the timeline, but after I had the ability to work at Jackson Area Federal Credit Union, Liberty Bank, which is a black-owned bank. The reason why I chose to go to that bank is because I wanted to change, make a change in the community. Not a lot of times you go to these places, and also Members Exchange. I don't want to leave that out. I worked there for several years as well as a financial advisor. But a lot of times when you go to these places, uh, information is there, but information isn't openly given to everyone, especially those that, like, you could tell who needs this particular piece of information, whether it's me helping you and aiding you with, you know towards improving your credit, or me handing you this piece of information how you could kind of slowly improve your life through the stock market. Like, it's ways, brother, that, like, you can put money back and save, or you can use some of that money that you may get for your income tax. You can put that to the side, and instead of you paying your bills up, you actually could put the money towards this particular equity, and that equity could actually kick you out a dividend, meaning that that money that you have could be paying you, right? Let me give you this example real quick before we kind of chime into a little bit of piece of the story, because a lot of people may need to hear this, and this piece of information may cause them to stick around a little bit more, and also to learn a little bit before they leave. When you go to clock in, let's say for instance, you and I, we buddies, we work at Wendy's, right? We clock in at Wendy's. When you go clock in at Wendy's, physically your body that God gave you is in that building of Wendy's.
Mhm.
You can't leave Wendy's and then go clock in at McDonald's, right? You can't leave McDonald's and then go clock in at Waffle House. Your body is physically in Wendy's, right?
Mhm.
That's not the same with money. With $1, you can invest into an equity that pays you. As the equity price appreciates, your money appreciates, right? That same equity can pay you what you call a dividend. So now there's two ways that same $1 is paying you, right?
Mhm.
So with that dividend paying you, you also have another way that you can earn money by selling contracts on that particular equity. So now you have three ways that $1 can pay you.
Mm-hmm.
When you go clock in, you only can get paid for the hours that you physically are working for that institution. So what I'm saying here is when you're able to earn that money, right? It would be wise to sit with someone and understand where you can put that money for and allow that money to work for you, right? Now, where a lot of people get caught up is that uh, in the beginning, it doesn't give you what you would per se want and returns to a kickback, right? So you have to be financially grounded and understand that this is a long game,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is a long game. I tell people if you add 125 out of your pay period and you get paid every 2 weeks, that's going to be a total of $3,250. That $3,250 can pay you $325 month over month. If you do that for 1 year, right? $325 can pay somebody's light bill. So you sacrifice 1 year in depositing that into that particular equity, you no longer have a light bill for the rest of your life. You see what I'm saying? Right? Just 1 year of sacrifice can change the entire trajectory of your life if you do some of the things that I have learned to do. I'm taking 15 years of things that I've learned and I'm combining it and I'm dishing out this information to people to change their lives the next day.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. Let's go back a little bit then, because I want y'all see why I got this brother on here, right? Okay, okay. Let's go back then, because we want to take it from the root to the fruit. Okay, so let's go back a little bit and get some more of that origin story, so these people can understand how you reached where you are and where you going, because you ain't even where you gonna go yet. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
So, what elementary school did you attend, and kind of describe your time there? And I know you say you kind of moved around a little bit as well,
Right.
so kind of give us the background on it all.
Okay. All right. So elementary. Oh, elementary was tough because I lived a little bit in California. Can't recall the location in San Diego where I went to a little piece of elementary at that point. But after that I moved to Texas in a small town. It was Bog Springs, Texas, right outside of Dallas.
Okay.
And I went to a elementary called Hodges, Hodges, Hodges Elementary. From Hodges, I moved to Rolling Fork probably around fourth, fifth grade. Uh, Rolling Fork is in the state of Mississippi. And from there, that's where, my mother and father kind of separated. And, that's where I kind of grew up at. So elementary, fifth, fourth, fifth grade, middle school, high school, all was Rolling Fork.
Mhm.
Right. So that's kind of where, I grew up at, I guess you could say. So middle school, Rolling Fork, South Delta High is where I ended up graduating from.
Okay, shout out to everybody up there in Roller Fork, and Anguilla. I'm a former educational consultant, so I had a chance to go up there and do some dates at South Delta High School. You know what I'm talking about? So shout out to my youngest, Anthony Gibson, Ricky Prince. You know what I'm talking about? I just went to their class day and they just graduated. So shout out to all those kids. How was your experience in high school? You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, great, great. Um,
When you were in high school, did you envision doing what you're doing now?
Great question. No idea at all. Absolutely. I didn't even understand that this type of living was possible. You know what I'm saying? Like coming up, in Rolling Fork, my vision towards my future was kind of narrow because what I had, experienced to see in that community, right? And nothing's wrong with growing up in a small town or anything, but the things that you see on a day to day kind of limits you to the ability to where you believe you can go. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So that's kind of why I give a lot of homage to my grandfather because that seed was planted was one that I didn't see at that location. But coming up in Rolling Fork was very great, man. Loved the high school atmosphere. A little small town where everybody knows everybody, so everybody kind of rallied behind things that you did. So I understood what it meant to have support, community support, and that's kind of some things that I push. When I'm doing things in the community, and that's a lot of what I wish Jackson, Mississippi would commit a little bit to, helping one another, finding out who your neighbor is sometimes. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that stuff is missed in the community. You be living in the city, and you may not even know who your neighbor is 2 houses down. You know what I'm saying? And back in the country, everybody was outside. Everybody was playing together. Uh, I know who Yancey is. I know who Jamon is. I know who everybody is. That hang around and we spend that time together. Rather than we wouldn't be in the iPad or iPhone. Back then it wasn't available as it is now. But the way that we had fun was being amongst each other. So yeah, those are some of the ways that I came up. South Delta was very instrumental to it. I played basketball, all throughout those years. Basketball taught me, a great uh, depth of, leadership. Not only leadership, what it means to be led, to be a leader. You know what I'm saying? Because, you think about the hierarchy of things when you're playing in sports. You never come in as the premier person. You got to kind of work your way up the ladder, right? And you have to learn things about, leadership, and you also learn about accountability doing those things, right? Because you all success weigh on how you all may work together, and you may need to hold one person accountable that may not be holding um, respect to the product that you're trying to put out at the same level that you are. So
Mm-hmm.
you're always pushing, your brother when you're in sports to be a little bit better, and that's what I can attribute to, a lot of the ability for me to bring other people in is because of those leadership roles that was embedded to me, through sports. I love sports, and people that are in sports, I always try to let them know that, hey man, you guys are not only leaders in your sports, but also people that are looking up to you, people that are in the stands and stuff. So the route that you go, it weighs on a lot of people in your community. Oh, and to piggyback on that, as I began to work at the credit unions, I opened up a nonprofit organization that my lovely mother assisted giving me the name of. It's called Every Second Counts, and 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 that with that nonprofit organization that I created, back when I was working at the credit unions, I was working with young athletes back then that were in high school, you know, uh, just letting them know that, everything doesn't end with sports, but the spotlight that sports do put on you, learn to take advantage of it, and also to network. The power of networking when you're in these positions, take advantage of that power that you hold, because when you're in sports or you're in that position, people like I think Lamarcus Thomas, some of these names may be older names now, but like Cam Akers, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Odom, people in the Jackson area community that had heavy presence back then. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of those people became to go to universities and hold themselves to a higher level of where they were around here. And
Mm-hmm.
some of them even went on to the NFL and other parts of the career that they were able to flourish in. And some of the information that I gave them back then, they came back and they was like, Norris, man, I remember when you told me this, that, and the third. Like Lamarcus Thomas, who went to Louisville, he's actually a trader now, right? Due to seeing some of the things that he followed up behind me, right? And I remember meeting Lamar Jackson, going to one of his games, right? Like a seed that you plant. That's a seed that I planted that was able to allow me to network and meet other people, right? So you got to be careful about the seeds that you plant, and the way that people perceive you to be, because you never know what that could actually bring back to you. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So I had the ability to, some people go back and look at my timeline, they may be like, man, you were at some nice places, some nice games. How do you get access to, front row 50-yard line seats at Mississippi State, or backstage passes to see Lamar Jackson? That's because the seeds that I planted, were good seeds that began to flourish.
Mm-hmm.
And the power of networking allowed me to be in some of those positions. That's something that I never share with nobody.
Okay. Okay. You mentioned Jackson State. All right. So I want to dive into your college experience. All right,
Yeah.
and what went into that decision. Now, did you say you went straight to Jackson State, or did you go? Did you mention Hines or something like
Yeah.
that? Where?
I initially went to Hines Community College first.
Okay,
Yes.
well, take me through that process, and you're thinking about making those decisions. You know what I'm saying? As I like to say a lot of times on this program, I want to help young people make better decisions when they're making the college decisions. A lot of times they just go to wherever they thought was popping, whatever they
Hmm.
heard the best parties, wherever they looked on TV and they saw, oh, it's jumping at the football game. So
Right.
kind of take us into your thinking, your decision making, you know what I'm talking about, on what led you to Hines and then eventually Jack State.
Okay. Hines was probably the hardest decision that I made.
Okay.
I chose to go to Hines because, as I did mention, I grew up in a single parent household, and my mother, she took us back and forth to Jackson a lot, as we were younger. And with me understanding that, I had a younger brother upcoming, I wanted to be somewhere close, right? And with my mother making those trips back and forth to Jackson, I figured that Hines would allow me a little bit more time to choose where I wanted to end my, bachelor's, degree at. You know what I'm saying? So as I chose to go to Hines, it was because it was at a location where I could also, if I wasn't going home for the weekend, I would have the ability to meet my mother on the weekend at that location. So that played a lot of factor into where I went. It also had, um, similarities to Rolling Fork when I went down there. Very good visit. I could have went to Mississippi State or Ole Miss or Southern Miss, but I chose to go to Hines to keep those options open because I also kind of wanted to wait for my brother, who's only 1 year behind me. I wanted to wait on his decision to see where he wanted to go. And I knew that going to Hines rather than going to a 4 year, that transition would be a lot more easy for me because I could potentially take that associate's degree and just move forward and go wherever, me and him chose to be at. And he followed me. He came on to Hines as well. So that's what led me to going to Hines and to Jackson State. As I, left Hines, my brother actually just did a 2 year degree in like out of the automotive industry, and he began his working um years in the automotive realm, and I was allowed to continue to stay in the Jackson area while he worked. So that's what kind of led to me going to Jackson State. A lot of my family members, they grew up around Jackson State.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, she resides right off of West Street,
Okay.
right? So if you're familiar with West Street, like this, you can walk down to Jackson State from West Street. So when the games were going and when we were at grandma's house on the weekend, you could look outside, you could hear the boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, for people that's not of Jackson, like you really don't understand how historic the Jackson State band is and how monumental it is to the community, right? Especially when you can step outside and you can hear that, imagine, you hearing, a band prestigious as Jackson State, and you come outside, you see kids dancing. Some kids may have a water hose going on, maybe a little hopscotch going on, football being thrown, and you got the band in the background. You know how easy it is to get hyped when you got a little band in your ear. You know what I'm saying? You're throwing the football around. Like it was real cool to have that piece of and they didn't know that it was being heard way over in the community, but just to have that piece in your background, it was very monumental, and it played a role for me. Going to Jackson State, what I was able to visually see, and then friends at that point, some of my friends are playing college balls. My best friend Jamon Hughes, he ended up going to Mississippi State,
Mm-hmm.
playing out that way. One of my other friends, he played at LSU. His name is Derek Odom, and I had the ability to go to those schools and to experience, the atmosphere, right? But when I came to Jackson State, even though you may not have um a consecutive like 65, 75,000 people in the stands, to see people that kind of look like me and to have, a different kind of vibe of around 40, 50,000 people, because the vet isn't new to holding that many people. You know what I'm saying? So when you're able to go somewhere, I'm seeing, 50, 60,000 people mixed people, white, black, at Mississippi State, Ole Miss. But when I come to Jackson State, I see 40, 50,000 people that look like me. And the music that's being played sounds like music that is from my upbringing. The food that I'm eating, it tastes like food, from my upbringing. The conversations that's being held is conversations from my upbringing. So when it came to me going to Jackson State, not only from the football atmosphere, but also the visits that I took, the people that I talked to, it just felt a little bit more natural. It felt a little bit more like auntie and uncle trying to help you when you go into the administration building. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt a little more like the things that I was used to when I went to Jackson State rather than when I took visits to other places. Now, as prestigious as these other locations may have been, it just didn't feel the same.
Mhm.
So that's what led to me committing to Jackson State, also with them carrying the degree that I desired at that moment, because now I knew that it was business finance, right? That allowed me to step on into that campus and then mold the future, which I'm, kind of presently walking on right now.
All right, well, let's get into that whole decision to major in business finance. What I know your grandfather planted the seed, but
Hmm.
what other factors kind of played a role into you majoring into that? Because you know, there's a lot of our youngins who don't even know that major exists. You know, and as a former high school teacher, you know, and somebody who would routinely every single year talk to my students. 'Cause I used to teach U.S. history, so that was a junior level class. So
Hmm.
my students were close to getting up out of there. So I would
Right.
ask them, "Hey, what y'all want to do with your lives?" You know, I
Yeah.
never heard not one time, my students tell me I want to major in business finance. So
Wow.
as a brother who came from Rolling Fork, Mississippi, and look, all y'all out here, we need y'all to really think about. Y'all have seen Rolling Fork on the news when they had that horrific tornado. President Biden came there. The spotlight was on them. Okay. Now, unfortunately, a lot of y'all stop paying attention, and there's still a lot of work to be done up there. Okay.
It
But
is.
also the Mississippi Delta and Rolling Fork is in the Mississippi Delta. Mississippi Delta getting a lot of attention right now because of centers. Okay. We know that Ryan Coogler and them just came up there to Clarksdale and did a showing. Okay. So I want you to be in the mind of where this brother's coming from. Okay. And this brother majored in business finance. So what other factors other than your granddad uh kind of help lead you down that path?
um I guess I could say the fantasy of money. Like, I didn't know much, like you presented with the way you brought this question in. I didn't know that working in finance would come to where I am right now. So I honestly say that I had no idea, right? But I did know that when I went into those buildings with my grandfather, that's where the money was. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, what you see coming up, as you gave the attrition to the example of, people seeing, people in the hood, the boys or whatever the case may be, people with the wider money, people that may be looking, like they have money, right? uh that vision, I didn't have that vision because I was shielded by by my mother, to be around positive influence for the most part. You can't protect your kids about what they see in the streets, what they see on TV and things of that nature, but you can, build the foundation of what they see when they are around you. You know what I'm saying? So that all had 100% to do with my mother and my father, to be not my mother and my grandfather. Um, so I guess I could say me wanting to be into the business finance had everything to do with some of the things that I seen, my grandfather projected on me as a child, man. I didn't know that working in finance would lead me to being a stock market guru or what have you, whatever the case may be. But I'm just blessed to be in that position. And also, like you mentioned, a lot of the times coming up, man, people don't know what job pays what. So a lot of the times they don't know, hey man, this field here would be beneficial for me because when I do this or decide to do this, this is how it pays. This is the, as good as South Delta was to me, it didn't give me the perfect layout of things that I could do that could set me up financially, right? You think about coming up as a youth. Sometimes you think about being a basketball player, football player, that comes to your mind first as a child. It's a difference from what, a grown up should tell you some things that you could be, but as a child, what you're looking up to be, it may be a basketball player, it may be a football player, right? It may be the common things like a teacher, doctor, lawyer, some of those things. But, I encourage people that are in these fields that are making, a nice dollar or a pretty penny to go back and pour into the community and let them know, the things that they could do to kind of get to the position that you are and stop the gatekeeping. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we're not blessed with people that are in positions such as that, depending on the community that you come from, and you may not be aware of a lot of positions that could potentially work out best for you and, the background that you may have, right? So I just encourage the people that are grown, and we are blessed to have a lot more positions that our forefathers have had back in the day. So the people that do flourish, it's a target on their back to come back and release some of this information to the community, man,
Mhm.
to help the trajectory of our community. You know what I'm saying? So I just challenge people that are in better positions just to come back and give not so much as money, but information to people that would lead to the changes that we do need in our community.
So you saw what your grandfather was doing. He planted that seed. Did you ask him like, granddad, what what do I need to major in to do this? Or was it somebody at South Delta? Like, I'm pretty sure they probably didn't have that class. I know the school I taught in didn't have none of the schools I taught in had business finance. We teach government economics. Did it come up in economics class?
No,
Uh,
no, 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 no. So that actually came from one of the reps at Jackson State. Yeah. It came.
ah,
So when I told you about, when I stepped in, the environment felt like, it felt like your auntie or your uncle may be helping you.
ah.
Uh it was a lovely lady by the name of man, Jacqueline Doss, rest her soul, who helped me get into that field at Jackson State. Um Man, and thinking about it, man, a lot of people that I have the ability to thank right now are no longer here. So if you hear these names and they are of importance to you, thank you. You know, Jackson State is the main reason why I was able to field myself in the position that I am because they allowed me to continue the trajectory into this finance field.
Well, shout out to the illustrious Jackson State University. Moving on then. Okay, so you went to Jack State, business finance, you got up out that thing. Now it's time for the real world. The real world. Okay, so how would you describe your first year? Your first year out there in the real world.
First year was 2008.
Okay,
I entered into the financial world in the middle of a crash.
that's true. Okay, all right. Talk to me about this. Yeah.
So the opportunity was presented. I was still working. I was working at Sears. If anybody is a little bit older, that's telling your age if you're familiar with Sears. But I was working at Sears in the Metro Center as
Okay.
a student at Jackson State, and I was approached by a lady I was selling the TV to. I worked in the TV department,
Hmm.
and the lady, she was the assistant vice president of members exchange. And when I was assisting her with the television, she's listening to me and she was intrigued about, not only not only who I was, but because she was asking me questions, but about the depth of knowledge that I was able to carry out into, you know, the equipment that I was providing her. She was like, "You're very intelligent." She was like, "You ever thought about working in a credit union?" And as she asked me that, I was like, God, these stars are aligning. You know what I'm saying? So I said, yeah, I actually work. I'm working on, my bachelor's at Jackson State in business finance. I said, I'll be very interested. So from that little, interaction, and like I say, networking is something that a lot of people need to, pay a little bit more attention to. How you carry yourself when you're carrying conversations over with complete strangers could, weigh in on the trajectory of your life and where you go. So it's important to always hold yourself to a standard that could be, advantageous for your future self. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, her name was Karen Root. She's still the assistant vice president of Members Exchange. She pulled me in, held an interview, and then from that point, I entered into the finance world as a dual specialist, meaning that I worked two positions. I worked directly under the assistant vice president in the IT department, and I also carried over into working as a finance person, doing, personal, they call it MSR or something like that, personal member representative or something like that, where you help them open the accounts. Then I was able to grow the position after they allowed me to be there a few years into a personal service rep where I help people out with loans and things of that nature. And then it just began to kind of grow from there.
Okay. Okay. So now we getting into some stuff, y'all. That this is the fascinating part for me. This brother here is really into some heavy stuff, mostly that I don't understand. Okay, but I don't know who said it. But sometimes you need to surround yourself with some people who know some stuff that you don't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can help you grow. If you just around the folks who just know what you ain't growing. You feel me? So now we really into the part where both of us, the viewer and me, really feel to learn some stuff. All right. So how did you take that and translate that into who you are now? And people, this brother is a very humble brother. This brother has been up there ringing the bell on Wall Street, people.
The second African American from Mississippi ever to do it.
This is who you're listening to right now. Okay, did y'all hear him? This brother is historic. You understand what I'm saying? All right. So how did you just continue to grow? Just walk us through this thing, man, step by step. Because again, I don't know anybody like you. I know a lot of people who want to be you. You know, when I was a history teacher, every year I would start my class by teaching industrialization. I taught U.S. history 1877 to the present. So we started off in the Gilded Age, and so the curriculum said that I need to start with westward expansion, but I said I don't want to start that. It's lame. I'm gonna start with industrialization. Let's talk about this money. I'm gonna rope these kids in by talking about Rockefeller and Carnegie and all these guys.
Okay.
You feel me?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it always worked. So we would come to a part where I had to teach them about corporations, and stocks would come up.
Mhm.
And so I would pull up the stock market. You know, they got the stock app on their phone. I would show the kids that. I would let them know about, hey, you can buy, you can own a piece of Nike right now. You know, that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
I'm roping them in. I'm roping them in.
Right.
And every year from those conversations, I would have my students, the ones that like to gamble, especially, they were already risk takers. They were
Mhm.
already shooting craps. They were already betting on, you know, hey man, bet I can make this shot in the garbage can. All that kind of stuff. Well, I was like, hey, at least with this, you can study it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If y'all
Right.
roll shooting dice, you know, hey man, it's really the dice just roll however they're gonna roll unless you cheating. But I said, at least with this, you can study it and
Mhm.
make a better decision. And from those conversations, I would routinely have these kids come to me and ask me more about it. But I don't know anything else about it but that introductory level stuff. And I had nowhere to point them either. I didn't have a brother like you to point them to. You feel me? So kind of take us step by step on how you took going into that credit union and doing what you're doing there to ending up going to Wall Street. Second brother from Mississippi to do that. You know,
Mhm.
this is a hell of a journey, and we want to know about it.
Hey man, kudos to you first before I get into that because we need more people in the community, much like yourself, to help plant those seeds, right? The way that you actually broke it down for those young gentlemen is kind of the way that I like to explain it to people as well. You you kind of hit the nail on the head right there, because when I provide the information and when I start breaking it down, it's almost the exact example that you used right there. You know what I'm saying? You're able to take some information and you're able to make, a higher, a, 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 a high percentage investment, backed with, statistics, backed with, rather than just rolling the dice, right? You know, and you're able to make an informed decision on where to invest your money. And the beauty about this is I'm not rolling the dice against you. I'm not taking your money. We actually can be collecting this money together. It's something that we can be working on together. So the unity that something like this brings, when I speak to people in the community that I hold, those people began to kind of merge together,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Sometimes when you're in the community or in the atmosphere, as we had the upbringing to be around, you may see people shoot dice, and then what you may see after that, you may see some people get to fighting. You
yes.
know, it causes some people to kind of merge away from each other rather than together, right? Because that's what money does when it doesn't go everyone's way, right?
Yeah.
And when we're able to do what we're doing right here, we're able to do it together as a community and grow together, and we're not taking money from any one of our other brothers' pockets when we do this. So, like for you, kudos to you creating that example. Being that person that is actually planting the seed. You exactly who I said that someone like me would have needed in that position. You know what I'm saying? So, the lives that you have changed, whether or not is understood at that present moment, I'm pretty sure the seed that was planted was sowed, and it probably did, point someone in the direction to go here to do this, to do that. But me, how I got into the position from the credit union to Wall Street, it was a beautiful journey. Like I mentioned, it started at Members Exchange, uh, for me working with portfolios, 401ks, helping people understand, what it means to just put back a little bit. That started to be embedded
Well,
into my head.
right there, because I know we got some viewers who may not truly understand what a 401k is. Can
Yeah.
you kind of help them with that?
Absolutely. So 401ks are usually, if it's done through an employer, is something that uh, when you get paid, a portion of your check is directed to, the proper term is allocated towards uh, something that is not pre-taxed, meaning that you get to keep all of the money that goes to this particular savings. I guess you could put it in your mind, for lack of a better word, to savings account
Okay.
that is not taxed. Now, the beauty about 401ks, when you have institutions that allow you to make that, is some of them match, meaning that when I put a dollar in, they put a dollar in, but it's up to a certain amount. So it's
Mhm.
up to you to find out what that amount is. A lot of places may max out at 3%. Some of them have 6% that they max out at matching what you put in. So
Okay.
that kind of helps you grow your account twofold. Remember earlier in the conversation that I said that you can't go clock in at three different locations. But
Mhm.
now, when you're entering your money into a 401k, your money is now able to go in, and then when it goes into this, it explodes. And now, instead of that $1, now you got, when you enter $1, that $1 turns into $2 immediately, because they match it dollar for dollar,
Mhm.
right? And then when they put that money into the account, it grows, with time. Every time you get paid, that amount grows, right? And to break it down just a little bit further, that company that you work for, they have people such as myself in the background that find certain stocks or equities to put your money into,
Okay.
that usually would have a trajectory to go up. So as you put that money in, it splits, and now that $1 is $2. And now the people that have allocated the money to go towards certain stocks, those stocks grow. So as this $1 that you originally put in grows to $2, this other dollar that they matched grows to $2. So that $1 that you originally invested in is now worth $4. So the ability of compound interest allows you to grow at a more rapid pace than it would if you were to be someone like back in the day. We get our money, we make the money, we go throw it in the shoebox.
Mm-hmm.
That money sitting there, it ain't doing nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you are able, to find a job that allows that 401k, I would say match out whatever that max is. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what a 401k basically is in a nutshell. It's money that you earn and you allocate towards basically a saving that you have an idea that you'll never touch until you get ready to retire.
Okay. Good. 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 All right. Just wanted to make sure. A lot of the people who watch my programs are college educated, but I do have some real ones out there, who may not have gone to college and may not have uh one of these jobs that provides them with a 401k, you know what I'm talking about? Because we know unfortunately some of these jobs out here don't provide for their workers like that. You feel me? And then some may have a 401k, but really don't know how the ins and outs of what this perk is that comes with the job. You know what I'm talking about? So
Right.
wanted to make sure that everybody understands that. I know people were hearing a lot about it in the news recently with all the tariff stuff making the stock market fluctuate. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But just wanted to make sure they have a better understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was able to, be entrenched into assisting people with, 401ks, allocations, and things of that nature, I began to learn a little bit more about the stock market and the seed that my grandfather had planted back when I was younger. So as I'm looking into some of these things, and also as you mentioned, I'm starting to see some of the allocations that Members Exchange, Jackson Area Federal Credit Union had that were kind of, uh, uniform. So working at Jackson area, I seen that the same company Apple, they were investing into over here at Members Exchange. With that company, they are investing also into Apple. When I'm looking through the employers 401k, Apple is also included into there. I'm using Apple products, so I'm like, um, if they are investing heavy into Apple within my 401k, money that I have access to, I can put that into Apple, right? So as I was able to see that grow over a period of time working for these institutions, you start seeing that money grow. You start to see it bigger than what you have in your day-to-day checking account. So you kind of, well, at least how I was wondering, wow, how can I do this on my own without going through the 401k?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So as I was able to find a way to do that on my own, you know, I was able to kind of venture off into other names outside of Apple, right? And this conversation kind of sparked up with my grandfather, and he actually gave me a lot of pointers. I remember him saying at that point I had like a rental property that I was gifted, and he was like, "I'm proud of you, grandson." He said, "I'm proud of you with what you're doing with the houses and things of that nature." And and I wanted to bring back to you that even though you are making the strides that you are making right now, um, with the houses, he was like, think of it this way: how many times out of the night that you had to wake up and go attend to some problems that your money was having? I said, what do you mean? He was like, he's like, I know you work in the finance department, and he was like, but I wanted to make sure you understood it in a way that it took me years to understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because he too had houses and stuff like that, right? And it's not like I came out buying houses just to let everybody know. One of my grandmothers passed away, and I was gifted a house to um, to kind of look over. As I was able to gain access to some houses, my grandfather told me, he was like, "Never will your money wake you up saying that it's a problem with the electrical, or it's a problem with the gas lines or anything of that nature, right?" He was like, just think of it this way. Just think of it this way. When you insert that money into the stock market, that's the last you'll hear from it, right? He said you'll never have to worry about your money depreciating as long as you have it in the right asset. And if it does, you can just simply buy more of it. If it's something that you've studied, it'll appreciate over time, and you'll appreciate getting it for a discount. And hearing that, it resonated with me because I was in the field, and I heard him because I paid attention to everything that he told me. It's something that just came back and hit me in the head a few times, and when that really took effect to what trajectory I wanted to take this, I then kind of shifted from being an asset holder for houses primarily to see what I could do a little bit more in the realm of getting my cash to work for me rather than physical or tangible assets, right? So that led to me making my first journey independently to make a trade, and I studied what was Facebook then and
Okay.
also what was Netflix, because back in the day, telling our age and stuff like that, we had DVDs that Netflix used to send.
Yeah, that's right. That's
And my
right.
and my lovely mother, she said, it's gonna come a day where we able to download these directly from the TV. And when she made that comment, Netflix was 45 cents a share. Got to
Whoa.
go back. I was in high school. It was 45 cents a share. Now, I didn't know anything about how to go invest into Netflix, but what she was telling me, it stuck with me till today. And I go back and look at the trajectory of Netflix, and I was like, if I was able to turn that information into some dollars, if I was able to have someone to tell me how to turn that information into some dollars, I would be rich as of right now. You know what I'm saying? And then there were moments that I'm gonna kind of tap into a little bit later on where I was able to turn some information such as that into some money to help spring my career, right? So with my grandfather telling me that, to kind of go back to it, I made my first investment into a stock that kind of assist Facebook with advertisement,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
And that particular company, I think it's called Big Commerce, and it was very inexpensive at that moment. So I was like, if they're investing into Facebook, with Facebook growing quite naturally, they're gonna kind of piggyback and grow naturally, right? And I remember being at a stoplight, pulling up my phone, checking my balance in the account, and all I had in it was like $5,000, right? But as I'm at the stoplight, I checked the account, and then it showed me it was $6,000. And I was like, "Ooh, I made $1,000 real quick," you
Hmm.
know. And then I was on my way to have lunch with my mother, and then I wanted to tell my mother that I made $1,000 that morning, and I had never, working a standard 9 to 5 job. Everybody know that you have a certain dollar that you can make per hour. And I don't care if you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever it is, it comes with a price per hour. Almost like you're capped, right? And that's when I learned that the stock market, it doesn't put a cap on what you can gain. It doesn't matter. You don't have a boss telling you what you could make. You don't have, articles of incorporation, whatever it may be. You don't have a threshold of what your salary could and should be. Nothing dictates what you put into it other than the work that you put to understand the trajectory of where that can go. And then at that point, your dollar is your employer, right? So when I left the first light, I had made $1,000. So that was my first time making $1,000 in a day and understanding what that felt like,
Hmm.
right? So anybody in the working world, if you ever clocked in, think about how many times you clocked in that day and you clocked out and you made $1,000. A lot of the times the answer is none. None of us have had that, right? Right. So that power, when I'm heading to my mom's house, in my mind, I had already made $1,000. But watch this. When I got out of that vehicle and she was preparing lunch for me because I was on my lunch break, when I got out of that vehicle and walked into her house and I opened the app back up, I had made $5,000. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, the realization of that, this is real, it hit different.
Hmm.
Instantly, I told my mom, I said, Mama, let's pray over this money. I said, let's pray to make sure we're making the right decision. I'm about to pull this out. And I don't even know if it's real, but you know what I'm saying? Like that first moment was the moment of realization for me that, man, this is what I want to do. And I need to find out how I can do it again. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, man, I promise you, on everything I love, I asked my mom, I said, Mama, let's pray real quick. You feel me? And we prayed at that moment. And and that's where everything changed for me in regards of how I take serious, the power of the stock market.
Mm, that's some powerful stuff, bro. That's
Yeah.
some powerful stuff. I hope y'all paying attention now, okay? Because I'm gonna give y'all some game. Well, this brother's gonna give y'all some game on how y'all can follow him. He teaches a class and give y'all game. We're gonna get into all of that, okay? But y'all need to be paying attention. All right. Interesting question I got for you then. All right. What's the most gratifying thing about what you do? I know the money, of course. Okay, that's
The money isn't the
but
gratifying thing.
that's what I'm about to say then. So, what is the most gratifying thing for you about what you do?
Seeing other people flourish,
Mm,
understanding, watching that light bulb go off to where, like, to where or when they become or understand that they have been become financially free, right? Like the example that I gave to you, a lot of us understand what income tax is and what it means to get that income tax check. But when the mind shifts from where we once were to, getting that check, of course, paying a couple of bills and, making sure the kids are taken care of. I remember that was the only time that I could get a second pair of shoes when income tax money came around during the school year, right? But what even though my mother did the best that she could, she didn't have the financial understanding that I have to be like, hey man, we could put this back and this could help us out in different ways.
mhm.
So seeing people have that financial light bulb go off is the most satisfying thing that I get out of what I'm doing. And then the secondary most satisfying thing that I do is when they get that light bulb to go off, watching them spread the word, watching someone like a JP bring his dad into the class and watching that relationship kind of get a little bit stronger because they able to grow together. You see what I'm saying? Seeing a husband and wife, collectively get together in one of my classes and sit and change the way of thinking. I had someone named Tamiki the other day. She told me about, you know, um, what it meant to be in one of the classes that we were in, and she felt like she was doing things blindly until we actually were able to sit down and have an interview one-on-one on the trajectory of the way that she should go with, you know her vision,
Right.
right? And just seeing that financial light bulb go off to where people can understand that, hey man, I didn't understand that I'm already off a little bit further than I am, and I can make more money than my job is paying me from doing the things that we can do with the money that we already have. A lot of people's problem is they believe that they don't have enough money to invest. When in actuality, if you have $20 that you can put to the side, or if you have a habit that you can kind of decrease what you do with your habit and put some of that money into your future, you can set that on the side and you can actually change the latter part of your years, because now you have something on the side that's actually going to work and help you bring in monetary money, right? Based off of a small allotment that you can make. Right. So the biggest thing that I get this of satisfaction is watching other people have that financial light bulb go off. Right. And them understanding that I can take off these shackles from, and not to say that the job is something that's hindering you from growing, because it's what allows you to grow to this position. Right. But it's like someone gave the term of, uh, uh, I guess like a corporate in corporate, corporate enslavement,
Mhm,
right? So where the job kind of keeps you looking for your next paycheck to pay your bills,
mhm.
right? And I try to break that mold. And when people actually understand right where we're going with this, I see that light bulb go off with everybody that enters into a classroom that we have or a conversation that we have. That light bulb goes off, and it is a piece of enjoyment that I experience every single time I see that go off.
Okay. Well, in turn, what is the most difficult thing you experience in being an investor and being somebody who teaches financial literacy?
Watching people give up. uh you know uh um you you get into a position to where like it was easy when it was me uh watching one, two, three, four people in the group because I could put my hands on you. I can call you. You know what I'm saying? But as this thing starts to grow, you know, it becomes a little bit more difficult for me to pick up the phone and call everyone that I now have access to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so so I guess I could say that watching people give up on a journey is probably one of the hardest things to do because I understand when you turn that corner what it leads to. You know what I'm saying? I understand that when that light bulb hits off for you, what it could mean for not just you, but the generations behind you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So to watch people give up, it really, it really is a really hard thing to sit there and watch because you can't tell someone what turn to take. You know what I'm saying? So just watching people, give up is probably one of the hardest things that I have to encounter. Now, if you're talking about experiences, the hardest experience that I've ever had in life was losing my mother. Um, uh, that if you've never lost someone that you truly love, like you've never experienced that level of hurt before, you know, and it takes a mental fortitude because either it's gonna break you or it's gonna make you a little bit stronger. You know what I'm saying? So understanding, you know, um, understanding what it takes to get over that hurdle. Um, I usually have a lot of compassion for people that have been put in that situation, especially after experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
But um, um, that is the most difficultest thing that I've ever had to endure and fight through. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but like if you've ever been much as yourself, if you've ever had to experience that, it's something that you have to walk, along with because as many people say, my condolences or I'm sorry, is it anything that I could do for you mentally? It's nothing that no one on earth could ever do for you. You have to fight that battle alone. And I guess I could say that that's the hardest thing that I had to endure in this life that I've lived on this earth to take new steps without that support that I was born with. You know what I'm saying? So and much the same with my grandfather who recently passed. Even with the lady that helped me get into Jackson State, Jacqueline Doss, she's no longer here with us. So a lot of the things that I'm doing, I'm carrying on my back almost as like a legacy that I'm trying to push forward or a brand that I'm trying to push in remembrance of those that have paved the way for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I hold that to the highest regard. So anything that I do or say is gonna be magnified in my eyes and reflection of them. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is if you see me anywhere or you see me doing anything or if there's anything that I'm trying to push to you, you don't gotta question it because it's bigger than me.
So, as somebody who's experienced loss like that, and I think that's something that we connected on, to matter with even before my mother passed. My mother uh that was dealing with various ailments for a long time. I think you saw me and how I was taking care of my mother and you had lost
Hmm.
your mother. So, you would tell me keep fighting for my mom, and all that kind of stuff. And I greatly appreciated that. And
Hmm.
I would tell you, long live your mother. I know she's proud of you, things of that nature. Uh but dealing with loss and just dealing with the rigors and the challenges of being a black brother from Rolling Fork, Mississippi, in a field where we're not very much um, represented when you deal with all these difficult things, like who are those people who you kind of lean on? Who are those folks in your life, family, friends, whoever, mentors, whoever, that kind of help you in these moments to keep pushing?
Okay, great question. First, you had to start with the backbone of things. My wife, who supports me and the family. A lot of times, where I'm doing a lot of these things, it may require a lot of my time,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of studying, a lot of isolation, a lot of things that other people may not, quite frankly, understand. You have to go into it alone because, like, like you mentioned, we don't have a lot of people in our community to kind of push these things. So there's so speaking into that realm, it's not a lot of people that I can go to for advice. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to push this brand to be bigger than what it is, what the vision that I'm pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'm a very humble guy, but like the things that I'm doing, it should command a lot more people. Just last week, we had an investor who manages before I say the figure, it's important to understand who some of the biggest people in our lives are that we had the ability to come up and watch flourish, like someone like LeBron James, right? LeBron James is net worth probably a billion, probably 2 billion right now. Michael Jordan probably around billion, 2 billion, right, and they are at the top of their fields,
Mm-hmm.
which are the top of the fields that I, as a kid, I dreamt about being an NBA player, right? So to be the top player in that field, the highest revenue that someone can attain is something of what like LeBron is doing right now, right? And he's a billionaire. Some people don't understand how much $1 billion is. I think if you spent $1 million a day, it'll take you 27 years to spend $1 billion. You see what I'm saying? So that's big. So I wanted to say that first before I say this. Just last week, I had an investor that has a net worth of over $60 billion
Mm-hmm.
to come and speak to the people in our community. You know what I'm saying? So that's almost saying that I brought someone that's worth 30 more times than LeBron James to come and speak to the people in our community. Me, guy from Rolling Fork, Mississippi. I have access to pull people in, and the people in our community now have access. You ever heard the term you're 5 people away from speaking to a millionaire, right? You're 5 people away from knowing a millionaire in most cases, according to statistics, numbers. And I'm a numbers guy. So these, like a lot of the numbers that I pull out are numbers that I have embedded in my head because I've gone over these things time and time again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his name was Will Rind, and I'll share that link with you to a piece of the conversation. I don't like to record a lot of it because when you're in the financial realm, a lot of the things you say, you can be subject to it, right? So there won't be a lot of opportunity that I have visual videos of the things that we do because of that. But to understand that these things that I'm telling you right now are a part of our community is something that everybody should probably want to have a foot in the game in or an ear in the room, right? Will Ryan, he was a billionaire. Or last week, we had conversations about a particular group that we all are investing in, which is Lucid Automotive. And he came in and he spoke to the people in our community, and they had the ability to have one-on-one questions with this multi-billionaire investor. Right? I've never had the ability to have someone to place me in the same vicinity room or even a virtual atmosphere with someone of that magnitude as I was coming in. So I'm telling the people, just being a part of this community, you have a step forward that I didn't have when I came into the game, right? So just having me there as a bridge, I'm helping y'all, as my friend says, Ashton. I'm helping y'all bridge the gap. You know what I'm saying? This is things that we never had access to, or people that we never had access to, information that you never may have even imagined that you were so close to getting into the numbers of why things kind of, work and circulate the way that they do. You have access to that information. So those are some of the biggest accomplishments that I can say that I have had access to give people just for being a part of the community. You mentioned tariffs. Also, I had a tariff specialist from the United, man, I have access to a lot of people, but it's a guy named Kurt Altrich who's a specialist in tariffs, right? So I had him to also come to the community and speak to the people about what tariffs are, right? And when he did that, a lot of people took advantage of that information and they turned that information into money, right? So one thing that I will tell you on this show, like right here, I turned $85 into over $100,000.
I think all of my viewers would like to learn how to do that kind of math. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what's happening.
Now, that's nothing that I would say that anybody can step in and do. Of course, I just told you my entire background,
Mhm.
and it took all of the knowledge and the years to learn the things that I did to get to the position to where I can actually make something like that happen.
That's right. That's why
But
we went from the root to the fruit. Now, I ain't want them to just see the fruit. That's why we went all the way to the root. All right. So don't think y'all can just hop up in here and be Norris. Okay, there's steps to it, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So with that given information, and the resources that we have, we were able to make, as you mentioned, strategic approaches to investing rather than just shooting the dice, right? Now we have information from the tariffs that was given to us from Kurt Ulrich. We have Will Ryan, who's a billionaire investor, who's given us trajectories of certain things. And then you have me, who's a, stock market connoisseur, who's able to tell you things about, places that you could potentially put your money into if you do your own research. And, you could find that it may be beneficial for you to start here or to start there, right? And it will work in your favor if you take serious, the information that you're indulging in.
With all that said, um, who would you say are your greatest influences? And I know your beloved mother is on there. Uh, your grandfather. You feel me? Are there any other people who kind of, even if they're outside the world of finance, you feel me? I give you an example like Ali and Michael Jordan. These guys really influenced me to do what I'm doing, even though I'm not boxing and I'm not, hooping. You know,
Hmm.
their determination. In Ali's case, his courageousness. All that kind of stuff kind of drives me to sit up here. If he was courageous enough to stand up to the U.S. government, I can be courageous enough to sit right here and say what needs to be said. So what other influences have had just a great impact on you? And I don't want to take away at all from your mother and grandfather, because I know that's A1 day one. It don't get no greater than that. And I know for me
Right,
it's my mother. You know what I'm talking about. But
right.
uh, uh, I'm asking that because so many people may want to be you, and then their cop out is they didn't have the mother you have. They didn't have the grandfather that you have. You feel me?
Yeah,
And what I try to get folks to understand, well, look, okay, there are other examples out here. Okay. So no matter what your situation is, there is an example of that can get you where you want to go down the positive road. You feel me? So what are some of those other influences for you?
ooh, working in before everything became everything, the grit that I got to kind of be the best at what I do, I guess you could say. uh I'm an avid Kobe Bryant fan, right? So coming up, the fight and the work that Kobe put in, I kind of pushed myself to have that same mental fortitude to kind of, push forward with everything that I do to put my best foot forward. So I guess you could say that a lot of that did come from watching Kobe come and grind up. But if you had to bring it, a little bit more closer to home,
Hmm.
uh, when I began my journey in the finance world, uh, man, it was a lady that she stepped in. I was at Liberty Bank. Uh, She passed away, Mrs. Stokes. What you call it? What's his name? I can't think of his name right now. I'm having a blonde moment, but you know, he's in the community. Stokes. What's his
Oh,
name?
Kenneth Stokes.
His wife. It was Loretta Stokes. Loretta
Okay,
Stokes.
okay.
So she would come into Liberty Bank. Anybody know Miss Loretta Stokes? She used to always wear this hat, man. You know, like a Sunday hat, right? She come into Liberty Bank, and she would sit down and have conversations with me, and she would be like, uh, "Norris, we we need more people in the community such as you." And she said, I'm willing to help you with whatever you need to push whatever it is that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And she used to always come in and give me tad bits of information to where it made me feel like I could be more than what I was already doing in the community. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have a lot that was pushing me because at that point I kind of felt like I had already reached the climax, and to my knowledge, you know, of course I had a lot more room to grow. But um, with that being said, Mrs. Loretta Stokes, she was someone that pushed me to be uh, to understand that I could be a lot more than what I already am in the community. You know what I'm saying? So I put, you know, who I became and the ability to branch out and touch other people, you know, I want to give that to her. You know what I'm saying? Because I already knew where I wanted to be. I didn't have the mindset to where, you know, I could touch other people with the information that I had until I held some of those conversations with Miss Loretta Stokes.
Mm. Shout out to her, long live Miss Stokes, and shout out to Kenneth Stokes. Okay, the legend. Um,
Yeah.
this is a question I like to ask people. Turning losses into lessons. People talk about that a lot. You know, I got a tattoo on my arm that says "I will not lose," and I went to Wendy's. We're getting something to eat. My hand on the steering wheel, so little shorty saw my tattoo. You know you gonna lose sometime, don't you? And I had to tell her, I take that loss and I turn it into a lesson. Therefore, I always win. You
That's
feel
right.
me?
Right.
So, what's a mistake in your life that you actually value? You value it because you learned a lot from it.
Great question. And I love that you say turn losses into lessons, because that's one phrase that we use in the community that we are in. You will never be granted 100% success in the field that I'm in. You
Mhm.
have to have that mental fortitude to where you can turn those losses into lessons. And uh that's something that we stand on. Like that is very prevalent. That's something that we probably say every day. You know what I'm saying? To hear that, you know, that's something you stand on as well. That's good to hear. Uh and I could say that, and I wouldn't even say that it was a loss. It's just a mental loss, um, because I still gained from it, but it's something that I could kind of show a visual to people every day. You know, so as I mentioned, in the finance world, I was able to gain the money, and I told you about the story with my mother, right? But there's a success behind that that kind of, you know, is also a hindrance to the growth as well. So as I gave you the story about my mother telling me about Netflix when it was 40, 50 something cent, under a dollar, wherever it was, there was also a stock that I invested in, called Carvana. And I got into Carvana when it was around $5, $6, as low as $4. My average cost was around $4.57. I held 1,545 shares of it. Right now, this is one of the first stocks that I started to put out on YouTube, because I had a community of people that was like, man, you need to start publishing some of this information, because people need to see the work that you're putting out,
Mhm.
right? And just as much as you can be afraid of losing money, you know, when you start to get money, it can scare you as well. And until you reach that position, you may not understand the significance of that, of what I just said. But To give you this small portion of an example, I was in Carvana, and this lesson that I'm giving to you guys is about patience, right? Um, I got into Carvana. I spent around 7 grand into Carvana, and um, I have done all of my homework, right? And I had the understanding that this particular equity could be valued as high as $260, right? But when I got into it, I made around $20,000. And what I did was, instead of sticking to the hard work and process that I put into that, I got out of it. Right? Now keep in mind, I got out at $12. Right now that stock is worth over 320 something dollars. So if you take your calculator right now,
Dang, you were right.
yeah, I was very right. I was life changing right. I was life changing, right? But it won't happen no more. And the patience part is the hardest part about being an investor that you have to hone in on. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be patient on the work that you put into it, right? So if I take that current price of, let me get the exact numbers for you all, and these will be numbers. The numbers that I'm about to spit to you guys can be enough to get someone to believe Carvana that they can do it too. Right now, Carvana is worth $326 a share. Right, $326 a share.
Mm-hmm.
I had $1,545. If you multiply 1,545 times 326, you get $503,067. So that's a $500,000 that I held a position of less than 2 years ago, right? So I want to say that the lesson that I have into that, to any of you all, if you have something that you believe in, something that you're working on, something that you've put time into, it doesn't matter who's seen it, who didn't help you, who did help you. If you have the ability to hone in on something, and you got the ability to see it through, see it through, see it through. If you got dreams of doing something, see that dream through. Never give up on something that you're starting, and don't let nothing make you afraid of seeing it all the way through, whether if it's something good or bad. In my case, it was money and it was good, right? But I understood that if I seen through the vision that I had, and you don't get a lot of opportunities in this life that we live to see through your vision, right? So if you are able to put yourself in a position to start up that daycare, right? Start up, it don't matter who helping you with that daycare. You got 2, 3 people in that daycare. See that vision through. You know what I'm saying? If you someone that's out here that's wanting to, go into the world of being a RNA, don't stop at being a CNA. You know what I'm saying? See that vision through, right? And in my retrospective, looking at the things that I did, I started that, right? And being that, I let, in this case, which was something good, it don't always have to be something bad. It can be something good. In this case, the money that I seen, the money scared me, and I jumped out. And a lot of people in the finance world would be like, "Man, well, you made your money. You never turn down money that you make, right?" So, with that information being said, I had the opportunity to make a $500,000 just if I would have seen my vision through. So, I guess the lessons that I can say to people is, never give up on your vision, right? And if it's something that you have a desire to do, continue to take that path until you have no other resource or no other way to go. And if you fail, leave everything on the court. You know what I'm saying? If you fail, leave everything on the field, or whatever it is, and just know that you gave it your all. And because you only have, so much time to make these things come into fruition, if you did give your all, that's something that you can hang your hat high on. You know what I'm saying? So even if I didn't make it in this field, I understood that I gave it everything that I could. So regardless of where I make it, you know what I'm saying? I'm still happy about my game high of 28 points against Sim in high school. You know what I'm saying? I ain't make it to the NBA, but I still can look back on that and say that's one of my proudest moments playing basketball. back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Moving along towards today, one of my proudest moments isn't doesn't have anything to do with basketball now. It's going to the New York Stock Exchange, having, the children that I have, just being married and being a part of, a bigger thing, right? You never know where life is going to carry you to. But if you see through everything that you desire, and if it's something that truly, genuinely makes you happy, that's where the satisfaction should come from.
Man, man, you really messed me up with that answer, man. That was church there. That
Yeah.
was church.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about our mothers, and I was like, they're probably happy as hell we having this conversation.
I know for a fact that they are, man. A lot of things are destined to happen, man. A lot of things are destined to happen. And I don't know how the stars aligned the way that they did to allow things to happen to me that has happened over the past year. But I do truly, honestly believe that my mother has had something to do with helping me along the way after she left this earth. I do believe that there are higher powers that can, help push you. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything.
With that said, my next question is another deep one. Um, and it's simply this: who would you say it is you live for?
My family 100%. Every day I wake up and go to sleep. Before this journey here, I worked 2, 3 jobs. I worked at the credit union. I worked at hotels. You know what I'm saying? Working on the rental properties, and a lot of the time that I had, I sacrificed to kind of get to this position. You know what I'm saying? My thing was I always wanted to retire before I was 40, and I got the opportunity to do it at the age of 38. You know what I'm saying? So like the goal that I had set, I actually accomplished it, and I didn't know that it would come this route. I didn't know that it would come this way, but you know, I can attribute that to, putting my head down and continuing to work, and my family being the foundation for that hustle. You know what I'm saying? So much like yourself, you have kids and things of that nature. You never want to wake up and not know how you gonna give them the next meal. You know what I'm saying? You never want to wake up and have them to worry about, my shoes got holes in them or something like that. Some of your past could be something that keeps you uh, uh, grounded to make sure that they don't have to go through some of the difficulties that you did. So I would like to say that the foundation or the inspiration to continue to push comes from uh, having those beautiful kids to wake up to every morning, the wife to wake up to and things of that nature, people that actually look up to you and to be the the person that they need to uh, um, I guess you could say, uh, to be their superhero. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, 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 yeah. So, um, yeah, just I guess the inspiration to be who I am does at this present moment come from being their superhero.
With that said, is there anything you're so passionate about that you're willing to die for it? And when I ask people that question, uh, and viewers hear me ask people that question, they may be taken aback, like, why would you ask that? But there's so many folks that we admire, the Dr. Kings, the Mega Evers, the Malcolm X's, and that, things like that. And even though we know their stories, we know what happened to them. Somehow I still think that folks don't really do give it justice, or give them their just due. The fact that these brothers and sisters
Mhm.
were willing to die for whatever their thing was, whatever they believed in. So who or what are you willing to die for?
I would say the message that I'm trying to put out.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of people need to understand that financial burdens aren't things that you have to necessarily go through if you make a sacrifice, and sacrifice is necessary to get to the position to where you can financially free yourself. Like where I am right now, you never really understand until you cross over the road what it means to not only be financially free, but but to free your time. You know what I'm saying? It makes a difference to me when I'm able to get up and go to the school and to bring my daughter some medicine without having to check in with boss. Hey man, my daughter's sick. I need to leave right now. You know what I'm saying? It makes a difference to be able to on the weekend now have my weekends free to take my kids out to just the reservoir, somewhere free and simple. You know what I'm saying? When I had the time restraints sometimes where I couldn't do those things, where I'd be in church exhausted, exhausted, not even really wanting to go to church because I feel ashamed because I'm in there not enough. You know what I'm saying? Right. So if you ask me something that I'd be willing to die for, it'd be the message that I'm trying to push out because it's bigger than me. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And
Mm. Mm.
and the way that I see people, like the messages that I get from people that have made that turn, it pushes me to want to do it that much more each time I wake up. So so when I'm looking online, I see, influencers, um, getting thousands and thousands of followers from pushing stuff that's just in my mind just mess.
Yeah.
You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? And
Yes.
I'm sitting here, you know, trying to push out a message to where we all can be financially free. And I'm only touching a handful of people. Sometimes when I wake up, that hurt. You know what I'm saying? So if it's something that I'm willing to push and die for and stand on, it is that you too, whoever you are that's watching this, can be financially free, right? And it doesn't take more than what you already got to start.
That's powerful, man. Uh, and that leads right into my last question, and you kind of just answered it, you know. But I guess I ask it in a way so we can really put a bow on this thing. Here on Everybody Got a Story. In totality, what is it that you hope all the viewers can learn from your story?
Yeah, hey man, you put this together very well. Yeah, you did kind of round it off into that, right? Right. So I will say this. Uh, I will say from my story, no matter what hurdle comes in front of you, just remember that jumping over that hurdle is giving you practice to jump over the next hurdle. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever challenges that life is throwing at you, right? Understand that if you fail at it the first time, you should have recourse on how to correct it the next time, right? So don't give up on financial freedom, and don't think that it's something that's too far fetched from you, no matter where you are in life, right? I'm sitting here telling you that I have people that's over 50, 60 that are just starting, right? And they're working on making changes to that so that they can better the latter part of their years. So everyone that's in the vicinity of our voice, if you're watching this right here, understand that you are one conversation away from changing the trajectory of your life, and it can be done.
That's powerful, man. Man, let them know where they can follow you, man. We got to run these followers up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
We got to get folks enrolled in this class.
man.
Okay, we got to do it. So let them know, and I will put it in the description as well. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
y'all make sure y'all run it up, run it up, run it up. Y'all talking about y'all want this money. You talking about you want financial literacy and financial independence and financial freedom. You talking about this. Now you got a brother. I'm presenting you with a brother who can help you do that. Okay. So tell them where to follow you and what they need to do to sign up for the class.
All right, so you can follow me at Twitter. It's going to be Norris Power 13. That's the Twitter handle. You may want to take a look into some of the people that are aiding me in helping me make this thing grow, which is trying to connect. Some of you all may in the Jackson area know him from the Village Kitchen. I got to take you out there too.
Okay.
Whenever you got the time. I don't care. When we close this call, we can meet up right now if you got time. I'm gonna take you right over there. We gonna some of the best wings in Jackson, man. You ever ate that before?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
You got anything to do right now?
They got some lemon peppers over there.
Do they got what?
They got lemon pepper over there.
They made a whole song about lemon pepper wings.
Yeah, we need to get up over there. We need to get up over there.
When we through with this, I'm gonna call you and we gonna head over there and grab some.
Well, I gotta go. One of my mentors is waiting on me to come spank him in ping pong. Well, actually, he be whooping me. Let me not lie. Let me not lie. He be whooping me. Shout out to my mentor, my
Yeah.
beloved Daniel Mentors. Okay, but
Yeah.
he waiting on me to come over there real quick.
Okay. Oh,
But we
cool.
gonna get there. We gonna get over there now.
We're gonna get there, man. Hey,
Oh yeah.
look, shout out to Village Kitchen and trying to connect over there. And also Ashton King, he lives in Jacksonville, Florida. He helps me put this together. And I got a lot of other people. I don't want to, leave anybody out. Yancey, Carlos, Jamon, everybody within, the realm of helping us out. I mentioned JP. I had one of my members who passed away. I know she is not gonna hear this, but her name was Lori. Rest in peace to her. But along the journey, those are some of the ways that you can get in contact with us through those individuals. They're helping us grow as well. We also have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is going to be Stock Check with Norris Powell. I'm going to get a little bit more active into dropping YouTube videos probably once a week moving forward. Just with the things that the pace that things have been moving, I've been having to set up a digital background. So I have a website that's coming up, which is going to be ESC Every Second Counts. Is going to be launching within the next month, right? Everyone will have access to the classes from there. You actually can probably go to esceverysecondcounts.com and you can probably see that it's under construction. Just go ahead and save that into your bookmarks. And then when it launches, you'll be able to gain access to every piece of information that we have access to. We want to make it available to you all.
That's what's up. Well, y'all make sure y'all do that now. Make sure y'all do that. Follow the brother, and I'm gonna say we might collab on some other things. I got my wheels were turning over here. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm gonna pull his coat on some things. I may do something on my Instagram and Facebook with this brother. I'm thinking about, because I got a lot of followers over there for various reasons. You know what I'm talking about? But we need to talk this money too. My former students know every single year I would let them know my name is Coach Wells and this is what I'm about. And I would write a dollar sign on the board and I would tell them, now, if you about your money, you're going to absolutely love me. But if you ain't about your money, you might not like me. But I can't see you not liking me because I can't see you not being about your money. And I had them little jokers, these little 17-year-olds in the palm of my hand every year like that. You know what I'm talking about? So some of my youngest, y'all need to get with this brother as well. But man, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I really believe that our mothers are happy about this. I know our mothers, our mothers love both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no parents always worry about, what are their babies gonna do if they should leave this world before their babies. That's what we worry about as parents. And I think what we did here today will really make them proud.
Absolutely, man.
I really believe that.
I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you, man. To see the steps that you taking, uh, to watch you from the background. A lot of times, I ain't say too much because um you let people walk their own path. But man, I just wanted to let you know, man, I'm proud of what you were doing. Uh, Not because you're doing it for views, clicks, likes, or because someone sees you, but I'm glad and proud about what you was doing behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? Uh, with your moms and even like there were times that you would put things on hold, even me for a portion of time while I was checking on you. You was telling me this, that, and the third, and you was like, "Man, I'm working with moms right now. I'm gonna take a week off from this, and I'm just gonna focus on moms." And um, it hit a little bit different because when you were in the position that you are, I remember being in that position myself. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So whatever I can do to help you, because I understand who you are holistically in regards to how you treat the loved ones around you. If there's anything that I can do, just let me know. Like it's real. It's
Right
real.
on. Right
Yeah.
on. Well, like you said, that's what we got to do more of. Keep networking.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm great at what I'm great at, and you definitely great at what you great at. And however we can help each other and be an example to other brothers, especially brothers from Mississippi, where we get this horrible rep like don't know crown jewels come from down here. Well, y'all are sadly mistaken. You're looking at two of them right here. But I appreciate you, brother, for coming on and sharing your story.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, man. Put it on something for me.
I hope y'all enjoyed that interview as much as I did. Like I said, I don't know anybody like that, brother. Okay. Where I come from in Canton, Mississippi, I don't know if anybody on my street owns stocks. You know what I'm talking about? If they did, I ain't know nothing about it. They ain't something we talked about in the hood. You know what I'm talking about? My mother didn't own stocks. My mother, she went to work. She went to the bank. She saved, she saved, she saved. You know what I'm talking about? My mother paid off her home. And all of these things I'm very proud of. You feel me? And but as a teacher, my mother wasn't paid properly. Uh and she did what she needed to do to help us survive. But see, like this brother is telling you, you don't need a wild sum of money to get started out there. You know what I'm talking about? You need the information, you need the willingness to, take the risk, and you need the willingness to learn, you know, and do what you need to do to not only survive but to also thrive. You feel me? And that's what that brother has done. Y'all know I've said before I got a speech called the excellence formula, and I talk about how ability plus effort equals excellence. And that brother definitely figured out what his God given ability is. With the help of his mother, with the help of his grandfather. What I'm talking about, with the help of that queen from Jack State that helped him major in business finance. He figured out what his God given ability is. You know what I'm talking about? And then he also bust his ass. He worked hard. He put forth the effort. You understand? And that's why he's excellent. So I appreciate that brother for coming on and sharing his excellence with us. And like I said, I hope y'all greatly enjoyed it. You know what I'm talking about? Please stay down with me. Follow me across all social media platforms. You know what I'm talking about? It's in the description. It's also coming across your screen. Feel free to hit that Cash App, PayPal, excuse me, however you want to contribute. You know what I'm saying? Because we will change the world. We will. With your help, we will change the world. You understand? So I appreciate y'all and I love y'all. And I want y'all to remember everybody got a story. So listen.
Please subscribe to my daddy's YouTube channel because the more subscribers he gets, the more attractive he looks to sponsors. The more attractive he looks to sponsors, the more money he can make. And the more money he can make, the more money he can spend on me.